So when you think about the version of yourself, when you first picked up that violin, what do you recognize in her that is still present in the artist in you today?
Oh, whoa. You did say you were going to have some hard-hitting
Come on.
questions.
From New Orleans, with the Forstalls, this is Local Legends. One-on-one conversations with some of New Orleans' most exciting and influential business owners, entrepreneurs, movers and shakers. They're here to give their take on all things going down in the Big Easy.
What's up, New Orleans? Welcome to the podcast. I am your host, Jonathan Forstall, and today's guest is one of the most recognizable and enduring voices in Louisiana music. She really is a household name. She's going to have an amazing story. I can't wait to get in it. So welcome, Amanda Shaw.
Hi, how you
Amazing.
doing?
We are doing good. How are you doing?
I'm so great. You know, it is Jazz Fest week.
It
So,
is Jazz
it's
Fest week.
between Jazz Fest weekends. So, we are at the height of crazy.
And you're performing in less than 72 hours of this filming, right?
Oh my gosh, don't make me start thinking about it. My anxiety is going so high right now.
So wait, right before this podcast, you and I talked, and you've played at Jazz Fest since you were 8 years old.
Yes.
How are you still getting nervous?
Well, right now, actually, you know what it is it's thinking about all the things I need to do leading up to it. This is going to sound so, to anybody who's not in entertainment, this is going to sound so crazy, but it's like, yeah, I have a lot to do because I have to go get my nails done. I have a spray tan I have to do. I have to get my hair done. I know that sounds like a relaxing week, but not when you're on a timeline and you have gigs every night and you're like, okay, and then I got to rinse the tan off and then, and I got to let my hair color sit and everything. So, but it's when you play a big stage like Jazz Fest and you're going to be photographed, it's you want to make sure that everything is on point,
For sure.
And actually right before I walked in, right before I left my house, I was a little late because I got the package for I was unboxing my dress. So every year for Jazz Fest for I think probably maybe, I haven't counted, but I want to say 8 or 9 years, I get a custom dress made. I wear a lot of customs and costumes for stage. I don't wear regular clothes. I wear stage costumes. And so, but Jazz Fest is such a, I don't know, it's just such a celebratory time here in New Orleans that it seems like a fitting time that every year I get a new one. And that's usually when I I wear it for the first time I debut it.
Sure.
And my dressmaker, Julie Malo, who is, she is based up in the Northeast. She's fabulous. But it's incredible because it starts out with her making these sketches. We talk about ideas and then she'll sketch an idea. And because she's up there and I'm down here, it's not like I get to try it on or anything and send it back and forth.
So it's just images that you're going back and forth?
Not even images, just she sketches it out. Yeah. And then she sends it to me. But she is such a queen of fit. And when I say fit, I mean literally her pattern making is so good. She was worried this one because we did a new silhouette that we've never done before. I don't want to say too much before, but she was a little worried about how it was going to fit. And I literally was trying it on because it came right before I was leaving the house. I was like, oh my God, I got to unbox it and try it on so she can see. And it fits perfectly, but it's going to be so awesome. The one this year I'm so excited about. It's about as New Orleans as you can get. It's I was like, Julie, when I stand up there, I want to be New Orleans, but boom pow, Louisiana. And so she really nailed it. The colors are insane. And it's got some signature, it's going to be cute. So everybody's going to see it. I'm really excited about it.
I love that.
Having the perfect outfit really ties in everything else. I know, again, as a girl, it might seem a little silly, but truly, what's the saying? Give a girl a pair of high heels and she can conquer the world. And that's sort of how I feel is not that you can't play without a great outfit, but something about embodying everything that I feel when I'm playing and then putting on an outfit that matches that. It's just something I've always really felt and has been a part of what I do ever since I was a teenager. And I feel it's exciting. It's come from in the beginning, I feel when I was much younger, 13, 14, 15, and I was still experimenting with style and finding my style. And I've always very much been into fashion and stuff. And I feel sometimes I used to get a little bit of flack or maybe, I used to read even reviewers say maybe it wasn't serious, insinuating that maybe what I was doing wasn't serious because there's more emphasis on the image or whatever. But now it's come full circle where people will message and be I'm so excited to see what you're going to wear. And I love seeing now, I feel still, I see all kinds of local singers, showcasing their outfits for French Quarter Fest and Jazz Fest. And I love seeing the girls out there with their fashion because you know what? It is a part of the art if you want it to be.
Is.
And so I think it's really fun. And so, I get to debut it and it's going to be a good day.
So do you give input to, what's her name?
Julie.
Julie. Do you give input to Julie or she's...
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a collaborative, thing. She's so creative though. And I'll, sometimes
But do you give her direction?
Sometimes, whether it's whether it's the fit or the colors or the theme or whatever, or maybe if I have last year, our dress, we, I had just put out a collaboration with Chawa. We co-wrote a song called Pothole Mouth, which is on my album that's coming out on the 15th. And, but we debuted the single last year and we debuted it at Jazz Fest. And so we knew we were going into it, the audience didn't know, obviously, it wasn't something we told people beforehand, but we knew on the back end that we were going to be debuting this and that Honey, who is, one of the Mardi Gras Indians, was going to come out in his full, his full regalia and everything. And so, we had this idea. So we wanted to make sure it popped. We knew what the stage colors were going to look like. And so we really wanted to make sure that we made all those colors pop. And she really nailed it. And there's these awesome, she did these awesome, really frilly, I don't know what you call them. You can even call them sleeves, but it was these awesome big, orange and yellow frills. It was so cool.
Do you think that if you go out there with the spray tan and the hair and the outfit, that mentally you're I'm going to kill this because mentally you're more prepared?
Yes and no. For sure. It feels great when you have all these things come together and you have this creative vision of how you want to look,
sure.
Whether it's your makeup having glitter or whatever it is. But also with the same token, I have so much fun playing music. And I love playing music with my band so much. I've had the band, The Cute Guys, as most people know. My drummer Mike's been with me for, I think, over 20 years now.
Wow.
So, and they're truly my friends and my family. So we have so much fun that even in the times, because I tell you what, in the years, the Rounder record years with the Pretty Runs Out, my teen years, we did a lot of touring. And I can't tell you how many portalettes I've changed in, how many times I've done my makeup, in the back of a van, that's bouncing up and down, and had to put on my makeup in a rear view mirror or whatever. And you still go out there and have great shows, So yes and no,
right.
It's both. But it is really fun to have a vision and be especially for something like Jazz Fest, where I feel the city is just I feel other than Mardi Gras, it's the most festive time.
For sure.
And it's truly just about us enjoying the music. And I feel because the emphasis is on the music, that's just such a fun time to have it all come together. So yes, I have a busy week this week.
You
and getting all the things playing all the shows, going to all the events, but it's worth it.
Amazing. Well, I cannot wait to see you on Friday. I am going to come see you.
Yay.
So I do start on my podcast kind of going back to, young Amanda, right?
Okay.
So paint us a picture of your childhood. You grew up in Mandeville, is that right?
I did, yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, the best picture I can paint for you is if I went to the Enterprise website and I printed out a picture of a minivan or a 6-passenger van, because honestly, sometimes as an adult, I look back on my youth and I think to myself, again, specifically ages 13 to 17, I'm I don't think I could handle the schedule that I had. I spent so much time traveling and working and stuff. But yeah, in the times I was not. I grew up in Mandeville. I grew Hammond and then Mandeville. So.
And you started playing the violin first and then the fiddle, and then but you were what, 6?
I was 4. Yeah, so I was watching TV and they showed the violin, and neither my parents.
You remember this?
I mean, I don't fully remember, but
right.
other than but it was one of those moments where I saw it and I was I want to do that. It looked cool, and I told my mom, I was that looks cool. I want to do that. And neither of my parents play music. And so we lived in Hammond at the time. My mom took me to Southeastern, and they have a great community music school. People ask me all the time about where to take their kids for lessons. I can't say enough great things about Southeastern's, music school there. But yeah, she took me to start getting lessons there. They had no idea violins come in sizes and all of that. And so, yeah, and that's how it all started. kid. And then, my parents would take me down to like Michal's and mulots and stuff on the weekends when I was a little bit older. And I'd go to the fais dodos and like everybody, the Cajun bands would be playing, the Cajun dancers would be dancing. The cool thing about the Cajun dancers too that I loved so much is that like the band would take a break, but like the dancers would keep going. Like even on the break, they would like dance to like the house music and the food and just like, and I love that like you go to like these Cajun dances and like you might come with a dance partner, but you like dance with everybody in the room and like everybody's kind of got their own version of the two-step and stuff. And there's just like something, something so fun about Cajun music that like I related to, even though like I don't speak French, or anything like that. But, that music just translates so well. And I can even say that now, as a kid who witnessed it and was like, oh, this is really fun. Like, I feel like I could play this and like it would be super fun to play this. And then as an adult now, an adult musician who has like played in other countries where they don't speak the same language and like, that music translates so universally because it's so joyful and it's so fun. And, when you really get down to it, that music comes from a community that was really isolated and it was unique. It was isolated in the way, they were hardworking people, they were farmers, and they were out there working hard during the week. And then on Saturday nights, everybody would get together and let loose. And like the thing about that music is that a lot of it is actually really sad. It's a lot of it is about heartbreak and about how hard life is. But the emphasis on that music is the joy that you find in life, And I think that that's so true because we might not be farmers now, but life has challenges now. We all have challenges. We all go through really difficult things. We all feel isolated at times. But I think like learning from that music that it is about finding the joy in life and these tiny moments of happiness and like finding, community, friends, coming togetherness. And that's something we're so great at here in Louisiana. And so I think that, being able to play that music, share that music with people, and then hopefully, people feel that and take that away again, regardless of whether they speak English, French, Portuguese, German, whatever it is. And they're able to walk away with that message because it is such a universal feeling.
Yes. I do have some young listeners. Can you explain what the fais dodo is?
Oh,
and
yeah.
The history.
The fais dodo.
My assistant is actually from Erath, and she's very Cajun and has explained the whole history, but I know it's going to come better from you.
So fais dodo, those are the big barn dances that they would have on Saturday nights. And it was fais dodo because fais was like the party, the fun, but dodo because the kids would go to sleep. They would finally get tired and go to sleep in the corner. So that's why they would call it a fais dodo. But, and what's cool about Cajun music too is, everybody would bring their instruments. Everybody would cook, bring their instruments and sing together, dance and all of that. And it was, they were good times.
Yeah,
good times.
It just had a feeling to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Bruce Daggerpont still has a monthly fais dodo that he does at Tipitina's, so which is really fun.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. He's got one of the longest running fais dodos, and he's so great. If you don't, if you ever want to experience a fais dodo, whether you're a visitor or you're a local, that is one of the most fun times I can recommend. Like, absolutely. I'll be joining him on the 14th at Tipitina's, so it's going to be the 30th anniversary, I believe, of his fais dodo, but it's going to be super fun. But that's such a great, he does such a great job. He has great music.
That's awesome. So when you think about the version of yourself, when you first picked up that violin, what do you recognize in her that is still present in the artist in you today?
Oh, whoa. You did say you were going to have some hard-hitting questions. I mean, yeah, I think that little Amanda would be like super proud and super psyched to know that like we're doing it, but also little Amanda is definitely sassy and like, well, yeah.
So your music is deeply rooted in Louisiana, but it never really feels trapped, right? You're kind of bringing a new flair to it.
I try.
Yeah. So how do you go about honoring a culture and that Cajun culture and the music and Zydeco and all that? How do you honor that while still pushing forward and into those new realms?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think that like that's definitely something that's still like it's an exploration every day, every time I go to a writing session, just keeping in mind. And also as I grow, like as an artist through the years, I've grown here, and in this most recent venture in my most recent album that's coming out on the 15th, I think this is like the greatest, like showcasing of all these things kind of coming together in the best way possible. So speaking of like, as far as like little Amanda and like what she would think. So I'm going to tell you a story. When I was a teenager, look, I love the life I have, but honestly, doing as much as I did as a kid, there were definitely a lot of hard days. I wasn't going to school all the time like a normal person and like having all those interactions and things, or, you're being on stage a lot. And like, you have pressures of not just being a good daughter or good student, but like, did I have a good show? And you have a record label and you have management and you have like agents and teams of people that are counting on you at 13, 14, 15.
Wow.
Yeah, which is a lot, But again, I want to say that with the caveat of like that, like I obviously love my life and like I still pursue this every single day and I have so much fun with it. But on my bad days when I was maybe feeling so unsure of myself, one of the things I loved the most that made me feel grounded is I'm date myself here, but I had a boombox and I had like all my CDs and I'd sit on the floor of my bedroom and I would listen to my CDs, and I loved reading the liner notes of CDs. It's one of the things I miss the most about streaming music is like, that was my favorite part, is going to Tower Records or to Louisiana Music Factory, going and like listening. I
remember those days.
Yes, listening, picking out, and you'd only have like $15, and so you'd have to pick your album wisely, what you were taking home.
And you look for the one on the sale.
Exactly. Sometimes you'd go to the bins and you'd go listen on the little But anyways, I'd go sit on the floor, and I had several Dolly Parton albums. She was always been my favorite. And I had Better Day. I had The Grass is Blue. I had Backwoods Barbie. I love that one. She looks awesome. And a guy named Kent Wells, when I would read those liner notes, a guy named Kent Wells produced those albums. And so, fast forward to about 3 or 4 years ago, a friend of mine who I was working on music, again, I was kind of working on all these songs, again, all my music being inspired by Louisiana and just having all these ideas brewing in my head. And I was looking for someone to help me produce these songs. And a friend of mine who's a session player in Nashville introduced me to a guy named Kent Wells. Just complete. She was like, oh, I have this friend who's a producer. Let me put you in contact. And when she put us in the group chat and she said, Kent, I want you to meet my friend Amanda. She's really talented. And like my jaw hit the floor. Like, cause she just told me, she was like, oh, I have a friend, I'll introduce you. She didn't tell me it was Kent. And then like, as I'm reading the text, I'm like, I know that name. And like, I was like, am I tripping right now? And like, I got on Google and I was like, I'm so not tripping. I had all these Dolly Parton albums that he produced. And so so we got on a Zoom call and we met over Zoom. And this is, I'm going to let my level of psycho out right now. But so I'm on Zoom with Kent and I was like, and I'm telling him about what I do and everything. And then I was like, so yeah, I was like, I'm going to be in Nashville next week visiting some friends. So, maybe I could like stop by and say hi. Let me tell you, I knew nobody in Nashville. I had zero business in Nashville. That was like such a fib. I literally bought a round trip ticket on Southwest. Like I flew in at like 9 a.m. that morning. I went by his studio because I just thought to myself, this is one of my heroes. This might totally they always say don't meet your heroes, right? And so in my head, I'm like, you know what, this could totally blow, but I just like need to meet my hero. Like this is a crazy opportunity. Like I cannot believe the most random circumstance of like, I'm meeting this person. And no, as it turns out, he is one of the coolest dudes like I've ever met. I love and like, I literally like flew in like at 9 a.m., went by the studio and like was back at the airport by like 2 p.m. Like that's like, I literally like did my makeup in like in the B&A bathroom. And so like, turns out he was really cool. And so like, I actually made a couple more trips like that. And then like after like 2 or 3 trips, he was like, well, the next time you come out to town, he was like, why don't you bring your songs with you, all of your songs, and we'll take a look at them. Let me tell you, like, he sat there when I went back and I brought all my songs, like half a day. We sat in his studio one by one. Like, when I say songs, I'm talking about song ideas. So I'm talking about everything from like demos that I've made with co-writers to on my phone, like in the voice memo
voice
app,
memo, yeah.
like, from a 2 a.m. idea, like being
Right.
like, dee, 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 dee. And he listened to every single one of
Every
them
single one,
and
wow.
went through like, and gave me honestly, like honest feedback, like honest things. And he actually looked at me and he said, I feel like you have something really special. And like, that was just like a moment where I was just like, again, it was one of those things where like every negative, every gig I didn't get, everything that didn't go my way, all the things that it was worth it in that
Right.
moment, because you don't know if it would have led to that moment. And like, I was literally sitting with one of my heroes, and like, not only that, but took the time to understand, like we connected on the fact like that he actually loves New Orleans music. He was telling me about back in the days when they were on tour with Dolly, like if they had 3 or 4 days off, they would actually come to New Orleans and like come watch George Porter and John Cleary and like whoever
Really?
like
Yeah.
play the small clubs around here, because they love New Orleans music. So not only was he awesome, I also realized, I was like, I might work with this person, with Kent. He literally works with the biggest superstar on the planet. And like, he might be like, oh yeah, you're great, except we got to change everything you are, except that's not what happened. Instead, he was like, you need to keep doing what you're doing. This is super cool that there's nobody else here in Nashville, and you're also stretching from New Orleans. And so like kind of bringing these ideas together. And so like to have someone like that be like, no, keep going, keep digging, keep pushing that creativity was so awesome. And still he's like one of my biggest like champions. Like he'll come out and like be like front row and be like, yeah. And I'm like, this is so wild. Like, and so yeah, he ended up producing the whole album.
Your family's from here in Louisiana and also Guatemala, is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
So how is that
Whoa, you did your research.
I did a lot of research. So how does that multicultural upbringing shape your sense of voice and belonging and performance and who you are?
I love that question so much. Yeah. So my mom is Guatemalan. I'm first generation on my mom's side. I'm super proud. And my dad's family is from Louisiana. They met at Southeastern. So they went to school there. Growing up on the North Shore, definitely my family was the only family that looked and spoke the way my family did. Like Grandparents' Day would come around, and like, my grandparents were the only ones where like English was their second language and stuff, and like kids would be like, why do your grandparents talk like that? Like with an accent, obviously
right.
like a 10-year-old, like, how do you explain like, well, like, and I don't think I fully understood at the time probably either, but I will say this much, like, there's a couple things, like one, like, my Latin side is also very much about food and like music and gathering. And like, in that way, like, even though we looked different or spoke different, like we fit in with Louisiana culture because like, we're not, you know what I mean? It's not that far removed in that way. And if anything, it like playing Cajun music and then like growing up in that way, like it actually really connected the dots. And also again, Cajun music comes from an isolated, people. Like they also too were like very much like outsiders, come World War II. So many of the young people in that community only spoke French, and like they were being drafted to go to war and didn't speak English,
right.
And so like, actually how much more understanding is that, like that's literally like the same thing. And like, it gives you an understanding of like, oh yeah, like actually like all of our differences is actually what makes it really beautiful. And it's about celebrating who you are and bringing that authentically to whatever you do. And I feel again, like really proud of both sides of my culture and both sides of my heritage, because I think that, it's really taught me to celebrate life.
I heard someone talk the other day about people in New Orleans and the culture. A lot of cities, they put culture into museums, and you have to go to a museum to see the history. And a lot of people observe the culture.
Yeah.
New Orleans, the culture's right on the corner down the street.
Yep.
And people don't observe the culture. The people are the culture.
100%. It's living and breathing. And it's like it's like such an active tradition. Like, and it's cool. And it's really cool that, and I think what's also really cool and unique about our people here is like, you go to a lot of places and like the young people will be like, there are a lot of cities and states across the country where young people will be like, well, that's what the old people do. But like here, we're like, no, that's what we do. That's what we do. We do that. That's not, that music isn't just for
100%.
your grandma. That's not like, and even if we do feel like it's old, we're going to take it and make it new. And I love that. And I love that our young people are about that. And like,
Yes.
and again, I feel like, I just want to be a part of like that whole idea and that feeling. And I feel lucky that I get to be a part of that. And like, that gets to be like my life. And so, yeah, I just want to keep putting in and just like keep putting in the work for me and for the future.
Yeah. And keep highlighting the good parts of our culture and
100%.
and pushing forward. And you mentioned the word joy a lot. That word means a lot to you, doesn't it?
It really does. It does.
And
yeah.
it shows up again and again in the work and the way you talk about your music. Why is that word, joy, so important in your creative life?
Yeah, I just think that joy, I just think joy is like the most important thing. Finding joy. Like, why not? Like,
Right.
like I think everybody really does deserve like happiness and joy. And I do believe that like we are like the creators of our reality. And like, every day is just like an opportunity. Every day is a gift. Every day we get to just go, make the most of what we can, even on the really, really, really bad days or whatever, you can turn it around. And just because you've maybe come from something that, isn't 100% or whatever, your past doesn't dictate your future, where you go.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, like I think that's, I think just living with joy and finding that joy is really important. That's the best way to live,
Yeah,
who doesn't
I love
want to
that.
have fun?
Exactly. Exactly. Life is too short
Yeah,
to
it
not be
really,
joyful.
really is.
To not be joyful. And I know, you've had a long career, 27 years plus. And your recent music and current releases cycle suggests another season of growth.
Yeah.
Your new album coming up. You said, when was it?
May 15th.
May
Yeah, it's called
15th.
The Rhythm of My Roots, which I feel like is so fitting,
I
like
love
for this
that.
collection of
I love
songs.
that.
Yeah.
And by the time this recording comes out, it's probably past May 15th. So go check it out.
Yeah. Go
Yes,
stream it. Go help a
stream
girl
it.
out.
Yes, give it 5 stars. But what feels most different about Amanda Shaw in this chapter of your life?
Yeah, I think, kind of like I was saying earlier, like the fact that, I got to work with one of my heroes, Kent Wells, who produced the album. I got to work with the most stellar, studio musicians in Nashville. I would have never even dreamed of going to Nashville to work on this music. But again, to have this experience and then like not only that, but share the joy of being from New Orleans and New Orleans culture with Kent. And then getting to celebrate it with my friends that I've made along the way. Fred from Cowboy Mouth, wrote Bad, which we did a cover of, and then co-writing a song with John Cleary, and then having Rockin' Doopsie, having, Chawa. It's like truly a celebration of like all these different, all throughout life, you collect these memories and like these things. And like, I truly feel like this album is like a celebration of like all the places I've been throughout my career, and it is like so full circle again to be, working with, the same name that I read in the liner notes on my CDs, and like to be doing all these things throughout my career that, all this music that has inspired me throughout the years and all of that. So, yeah, that feels really, really good. And again, Rhythm of My Roots just felt really, it's the title track of the album. But it just felt really fitting to do that. So
I'm excited for you.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
so excited for that release. That's amazing.
I know, it's going to be super, super awesome. Oh, and I did a collaboration. I actually have a cover of Callin' Baton Rouge on there, which this is really cool because it's a collaboration with Jimmy Mattingly, which if you don't know who Jimmy Mattingly is, he is the fiddle player for Garth Brooks. So, getting to play Callin' Baton Rouge with Garth, doing dueling fiddles,
That's
with
so cool.
Garth Brooks' fiddle player is like the sickest thing ever. Like as a fiddle player, I was like, oh my God, that's insane.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
Amazing.
yeah, but so yeah, it's a really cool collection of songs that I'm just so thrilled about. And again, to bring together, the authenticity of New Orleans and then, with the Nashville polish is like insanely cool.
Getting new artists and kind of collaborating with them, how has that opened up your creativity even more?
You know what? I'll tell you like a funny story about that is like, yeah, like collaborating really is the best way to like open up creativity. Really, I feel like one of the ones that was most interesting was a couple of years ago before we got here in the studio, we were talking about Choppa, and I had met Choppa, who is, by the way, one of the most wonderful people I've ever met. He is so sweet.
He's so
and just
cool.
like love that guy. He's so
down to
awesome.
earth. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he is so fun. But anyways, he was like, I'd met him, and he hit me up a couple times. It was like, it's his fault and it's all his idea because he hit me up a couple times. He was like, we got to do something. We got to do something. And I got to say, it was one of those times where I was just like, I don't know, like Cajun fiddle and bounce. Like, how am I going to do? Because those worlds are pretty far apart.
Very far apart.
Very, very far apart. And, and I had tried to take a stab a couple times at like writing stuff, and I just was like not really feeling anything I had written. And then,
on your own?
Yeah, just like trying to write stuff. And then it finally like hit me. I was like, why am I reinventing the wheel? I was like, at the time it felt like nobody had really done a cover of Louisiana Saturday Night in a while. This was, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And so like, it dawned on me, I was like, I wonder if we did like a cover of Louisiana Saturday Night, but like threw in like a bounce bridge, and like he could do a verse and stuff. And so like we were still kind of, I think this was still kind of coming out of COVID and stuff. So we did a lot of it. My friend Lang Freeman and I, we actually exchanged, he's in Austin, and we actually exchanged stuff over email a bunch. But then we had the track, and then Choppa put his verse down, and then it kind of came together. And then like at the time I was like, man, what would be really cool for this is like, if I could just manifest getting it like on an LSU playlist, like at one of the games or something, like that would be so cool, and like in my head, I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll manifest getting on a playlist. Well, like, it was like a couple months later that the Sugar Bowl committee like reached out for me to sing the anthem to the LSU FSU kickoff game that September. And my publicist at the time, she was like, Amanda is just about to put out a cover of Louisiana Saturday Night featuring Chop. We put together a whole pitch, and we were like, would you guys be interested in like featuring this maybe at the halftime show or something?
In exchange for you singing, or just
like to do that at the halftime show, to do Louisiana Saturday Night at the halftime show. Like a couple days later, they were like, yeah, that sounds great. And so like, we actually like, I know, like it's so crazy. Again, it's like so crazy, the universe, because at the time, like, first of all, I would have never even thought about collaborating with Choppa. But then like, not that I wouldn't think about doing, but you know what I'm saying? Like how to do bounce and Cajun music. But then we made this awesome cover of like Louisiana Saturday Night, so much so that it was like, oh, well, maybe we would get on an LSU playlist. But no, we actually ended up doing the halftime show at the kickoff game. Like, I think this was like 2022 or 2023, or it was a couple years ago, but I can't remember the year. And we actually played the halftime show on the floor of the Superdome, and like it was so cool. And it's like, where else in the world can you have a moment where like something starts as like a tiny idea, and again, artists from different genres coming together and being like, can we do this? And then and then having like a moment like on the floor of the Superdome, like taking it all the way there. And again, it's just like those things where it's like, you can't make it up, but it's like, all you can do is like, be like, put in the work, hopefully manifest it. And sometimes like life shows you like how awesome things can be,
I love that. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Amanda, for sharing everything, your awesome story, your upcoming album in just less than a month. By the time this releases, it'll be out. You have some, just to let the audience know, we have a website, amandashaw.com, Instagram @AmandaShawMusic, Facebook, Amanda Shaw Official, Twitter, Amanda_Shaw, and YouTube, Amanda Shaw Music.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Especially if you love Chihuahuas, 14-year-old Chihuahuas, Instagram is the place to follow me, because there is a lot of Vivian Rose content. So
I love that. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining, and tune in next time for some great content. See y'all next time. From NOLA with the Forstalls is presented by Jonathan and Chip Forstall. Executive producer, Mona Lisa Johnson, Sierra Media Productions. Host, Jonathan Forstall. Casting director, Jonathan Thomas, Ascension Branding and Marketing. Post-production editor and voiceover talent, Matt Pawlowski, Redline Studios in New York City. Produced by Ascension Branding and Marketing and Sierra Media Productions. Thanks for listening.